Hi ECM parents. We're going to go to part 2 of our kind of parenting 101 reflections, and we're talking really about 3 things that really I think form the foundation for good parenting. And number 1 is loving, just loving your kids, listening to them, making them know, not just telling them, but showing them by word and deed that you care, you like them, you love them. We talked about date nights a few videos ago. Second one is boundaries and expectations that we'll talk about today, and the third one is consequences. Now, boundaries and expectations are something that we probably all have for our children. Whether or not they're always enforced is a different matter, but it's so important to be talking about boundaries and expectations that you have for them in all different areas, whether it's school, at home, in their jobs, at play, it doesn't matter. And then making sure that you're talking with them about the boundaries that are in place. Now, parents often avoid these conversations because they think, well, my teenager is just going to push against the boundaries anyways. That's what teenagers do. That's the point. But they have to know what the boundaries are. And not having boundaries doesn't make this situation better. Avoiding the conversation about expectations and boundaries doesn't make the situation better. Yes, explaining boundaries and expectations that you have for them, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to say, oh, I never thought of it that way. Okay, I'll just do, I'll totally respect those. You're right, there is something developmental that will make teenagers push against those boundaries. But psychologically, and I would argue on every level, it's very important for teenagers to know what they're pushing against. And a real gift that you can give to your child as a parent is clear boundaries and expectations. Now, what your child chooses to do with those is really, in a sense, up to them. But your job as a parent is to constantly be negotiating and talking through and enforcing boundaries and expectations for your child. That's not a bad process. It's a difficult process. Whether you're, in my case, your child's 4 years old or whether they're 14 years old, it's not easy, but it's incredibly important. And so whether you're a single parent or as a couple, to sit down and make sure that you're on the same page in terms of what are the boundaries and expectations you have for your children, and make sure you're sitting down with your children and talking with them about that, making sure everything's out on the table and there's no surprises.